Well, good morning. Welcome to another chapter in salvation. Today we're doing lesson 129. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. Actually, just before we start, I had a question from somebody yesterday, which I think is pretty good because most questions can answer themselves, but like the answer is implicit in the question. But I often talk about the experience of being out of time and space and the experience of your illumination of the mind and all of that sort of thing, the enlightenment, salvation, that experience. And I had a young lady ask me, how do you describe what awake is to someone who is still asleep? And it's kind of hard to describe what awake is to someone who's still asleep, because really you have to have the experience. But last night I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, in a transcendental kind of way you can describe it, that, and if I was to use my own reference, I am outside time and space now, using this avatar to talk to you with. And that might sound a little spooky or a little weird or a little whatever, I don't know, but that's the truth. So, and it's actually also the truth for you, but until you recognize that for yourself, you can't align particularly with that. You have to use either my experience and my certainty of the fact that there is no world to align to, through the integration of the use of these principles, or have your own experience, which is what this whole course is about. Like the purpose of the course, or the goal of the course, is inner peace, but inner peace because from that point it's a jump off point to an experience of self, the divine self, the higher self, that has nothing to do with the nature of the physical, what your body's eyes see, hear. It's like changing the channel on reality, and all of a sudden you're out of here. It just ceases to exist, and you find yourself back in eternity. So to look at it from that perspective, I'm awake in eternity, calling back to you, calling back through this avatar, through the auspices of these lessons, an ancient message of salvation. And everybody likes the idea of how ancient it is, because it's been foretold, and all of these lovely words, been foretold since 900 years before Christ, or whatever it is. I'd have to check my biblical records for that, but the prophecy goes back a long way. So here we are, living in the fulfillment of that prophecy, and I'm calling to you now, and we're joining together within the dream to transition from our old world way of thinking about ourselves as doomed to die to the new world, or the new way to see ourselves as forgiven beings, let's say, for a second, until we have that experience of our wholeness. In effect, like we transition from an unforgiven world to a forgiven world, and then out of there. So, and that experience actually of out of there can happen at any point. It doesn't, there's not a sequence. Like if you try to work this out, you're screwed. You can't really say, oh, here I am one day and then here I am the next, because it's just good luck. Just live in the now, live in the moment, and allow whatever is to be is, and anything that's not helpful and not is will just simply fall away. But it is all is. All right, lesson 129. And if the video here is a little grainy and a little funny, it's like 5 a.m. and overcast, and the sun hasn't yet begun to, well, it sort of is starting. Okay, beyond this world, there is a world I want. This is the thought which follows from the one we practiced yesterday. You cannot stop with the idea the world is worthless, for unless you see that there is something else to hope for, you will only be depressed. Pretty basic. Our emphasis is not on giving up the world, but on exchanging it for what is far more satisfying, filled with joy, and capable of offering you peace. Think you the world can offer that to you? It might be worth a little time to think once more about the value of this world. Perhaps you will concede there is no loss in letting go all thought of value here. The world you see is merciless indeed, unstable, cruel, unconcerned with you, quick to avenge, and pitiless with hate. It gives but to rescind, and takes away all things that you have cherished for a while. No lasting love is found, for none is here. This is the world of time, where all things end. Is it a loss to find a world instead where losing is impossible, where love endures forever, hate cannot exist, and vengeance has no meaning? Is it loss to find all things you really want and know they have no ending, and they will remain exactly as you want them throughout time? Yet even they will be exchanged at last for what we cannot speak of. For you go from there to where words fail entirely, into a silence where the language is unspoken and yet surely understood. Yes. Communication, unambiguous and plain as day, remains unlimited for all eternity, and God himself speaks to his Son as his Son speaks to him. Their language has no words, for what they say cannot be symbolized. Their knowledge is direct and wholly shared and wholly one. How far away from this are you who stay bound to this world? And yet how near are you when you exchange it for the world you want? Now is the last step certain. Now you stand an instant's space away from timelessness. Here can you but look forward, never back, to see again the world you do not want. Here can you but look forward, never back, to see again the world you do not want. Here is the world that comes to take its place as you unbind your mind from little things the world sets forth to keep you prisoner there. Value them not, and they will disappear. Esteem them, and they will seem real to you. Such is the choice. What loss can be for you in choosing not to value nothingness? This world holds nothing that you really want, but what you choose instead, you want indeed. Let it be given you today. It waits but for your choosing it to take the place of all the things you seek but do not want. Practice your willingness to make this change 10 minutes in the morning and at night, and once more in between. Begin with this. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. I choose to see that world instead of this, for here is nothing that I really want. Then close your eyes upon the world you see, and in the silent darkness watch the lights that are not of this world, one by one, light one by one, until where one begins another ends, loses all meaning as they blend in one. Today the lights of heaven bend to you to shine upon your eyelids as you rest beyond the world of darkness. Here is light your eyes cannot behold, and yet your mind can see it plainly and can understand. A day of grace is given you today, and we give thanks. This day we realize that what you feared to lose was only loss. Now do we understand there is no loss, for we have seen its opposite at last, and we are grateful that the choice is made. Remember your decision hourly and take a moment to confirm your choice by laying by whatever thoughts you have and dwelling briefly only upon this. The world I see has nothing that I want. Beyond this world there is a world I want. Whew. That's a good lesson. And you kind of have to realize, it's like in our lesson yesterday, and we spoke about things that when if God were to call you directly right now, and you would have all these things in your mind that, my kids, my job, my everything, whatever is going on for you, all of these things are meaningless. All of these things are pointless, part of a fabrication and a delusion and illusion of the mind. And to try and comprehend that, how meaningless they actually are, is virtually impossible. You'd be sitting there listening to me now saying, this guy's crazy. Because the main thing we have in this world, and that we always, and I mean, it's pretty well a common thread in human belief, is that my kids are my purpose, you know. And in a sense, that's true. You're bringing forth a vessel, you know, you find a mate and you bring forth a vessel that a spirit can inhabit to enter into the next section of its journey of the soul, just as you've done with yours. And but we tend to project an attachment to those things. Right? This is the human mindset. But if you were to watch birds, for example, birds hatch on the egg. You sit on the eggs and hatch the eggs. The babies grow up and they fly away. That's it. Off to do their thing. Off to their and pretty much with any, I mean, lions and tigers, they stay in a pride and things like that. But in general, there's very little sense of attachment to things. But there is a beholding to the whole. Right. So things in the world work as above, so below. Things in the world, in the animal kingdom, work in that way also. A species will support itself, you know, and even in tribal cultures in the earth, and I'm getting a little aside here, everyone works for the good of the tribe rather than the individual, right? Whereas in the Western world, me, look at me, I've got to get this, it's all about me, right? Very rarely does the idea of selflessness venture further than, you know, what can be given as long as there's a return on that give. You know, look at big companies, and they'll, you know, like McDonald's is a horrific one, giving to charities and things, but only if it benefits them, if they get advertising and recognition out of it and all that sort of thing. And any other big company that seems to be doing something good for the world, they don't do it anonymously. And if they do, like Dibs. All right, that's it. So beyond this world, there's a world I want. It's not a world your body's eyes can see. It's a world of perception, a world of seeing through a specific vision that is brought about through a transition of the mind as we begin to let the old world go, by realizing that it actually has no meaning other than that which I've given it, which I've assumed and projected onto it because of a loss of meaning that I feel within myself, because I've denied the truth of myself, which can be recovered by me and remembered by me in that experience that's not of this world, which is sitting in my mind waiting for me to have it now. Oh. Yeah, that's cool. All right, lesson 130 tomorrow. It's impossible to see two worlds. You cannot serve two masters. It either is or it isn't. All right. Very uncompromising salvation. It's one or the other. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.